Super excited, waiting on our guest to arrive. This phenomenal woman of God is coming to share her story with me today. I cannot wait to share this with you guys. So, one thing I love about birth stories is yes, there's advocacy, yes, there's exposure, yes, there's just this raw realness about people sharing those intimate parts of their lives with us. But I am a person who likes to catch gems as well. And this woman is so full of wisdom and knowledge that I know I'm going to leave today feeling like I learned so much. So, can't wait.
Good afternoon. My name is Shareka Jones, also known as Prophetess Shareka. I am 45 years old and I've been married for 21 years. I have a beautiful daughter named Zoe. She's 3 years old. And our business name is Jones Consultant and Tax Development Firm. And I'm originally from Georgia. I've been in Florida for the last 20, 22 years. And I'm excited to be here and to share my story of motherhood and my journey of with Zoe.
Absolutely. We are glad to have you here. So, for those of you that don't have the privilege of knowing Prophetess personally, Zoe is a miracle baby. And today you are going to get to hear all of how God has graced this family. So, I'm excited for you to share your story, and I really appreciate you letting us hear it first. So, can you tell us some things you want us to know about yourself outside of the business, outside of who the world you thinks they see you as? Who is Shareka Jones?
Well, my name Sharika means love and care. And so that pretty much says who I am. I feel like I'm a person that um, big on justice. It's big on fairness. It's big on like love, understanding what love is, being love, showing love, giving love, and that's pretty much if 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 I sum up myself, that's pretty much what I would sum myself up to be. I enjoy, positive things in life. I enjoy being in a positive space and just loving people, loving God's people, and then just being love.
Okay, that's beautiful. Okay, so since we're here to talk about motherhood, can you tell me what your version of motherhood is? What does motherhood mean to you?
Motherhood is oh wow. Motherhood means to me several things. It means nurturer. It means a caregiver. It means being a protector. It means being someone that's able to cultivate, nurture, and mature, and also a guide to babies and to children that's in the earth. Some that's birthed out of you, and some that's assigned to you. So
Okay.
there's different roles I feel like motherhood plays. Uh, Foremost, we're always going to be that protector. I know our husbands are the protectors as well, but as a mother, you're always going to protect your child, and you're always going to make sure they eat, make sure they're fed, make sure they're doing okay. You're going to do, you're going to always be there checking to make sure everything is good, internal, external. So that's a very important role, and that's the nurture part of it. And just being there for your child, being present, being visible, and letting them know that if nobody loves you, I do.
Yeah, that's good. And what is your experience with motherhood? Have you, but aside from Zoe, I know you got the opportunity to raise other children before Zoe. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It was something that was done without a thought. And the love that I gave, it was based on, I guess, my experience growing up, is that I know what I wanted a child to feel growing up. And I never wanted a child to feel like they wasn't wanted. I never wanted a child to feel like they didn't matter, they wasn't important. And so when I had the opportunity to take care of some of my cousins' kids and my nephew and my sister, and I knew that going in, the experience that I wanted them to have was not that they was a bother, not that they wasn't wanted, and not that they was not loved. And so my first experience was that I wanted them to know that they mattered. I wanted them to know that it was important. I wanted them to know that they was not an accident and that they are loved. Right? That was the first intentional. And even kids around, like I had a passion. I remember a long time ago when I was little, I told myself, I said, I am going to be able to take kids that are, hurt and broken and misunderstood, and just give them the love and understanding and let them know that they matter, that it's important. And the reason that was so important to me because there were times when I felt like I didn't matter. I felt like I wasn't important. And I felt like at times that people didn't care about me. And so that feeling I never wanted another child to feel. And when I come around kids, sometimes I can see that in certain kids, and I can see that in kids where they're seen but they're not seen. And what the parents sometimes don't see is that child needs just a hug, just someone to say like I got you. You know what I mean? And so that was the important thing for me, and that was the passion behind me wanting kids. Like even when we got our house, I told my husband like we're gonna have this house and we're gonna have kids come over. Like it's my life has always been around like kids, and they're gonna come and have pool parties and all this. And we've invited the kids over a couple of times, but and I'm always having kids over, my god kids and stuff. They would come over and go to the pool and stuff because that's what it was simply for. It was having them a safe place to laugh, be free, and enjoy themselves. And it's still a passion for us. Me and my husband are always talking about what we can do and how we can impact the community, how we can impact kids in our neighborhood, how we can impact kids from where we're from. You know.
Yeah, that's good. So, which children did you actually raise? You named your sisters, some cousins.
Well, actually I raised my nephews, two of them. I raised them. One I raised from 3 to 14, and the other one I raised probably since he was born. I always had impact in his life. But he actually stayed with me for a few years.
Hmm.
That was my first nephew, and then I raised my sister. Actually, I was in her life from birth. I actually named her, and then when she was born, and then around age 2, I was able to actually take on her full time.
Oh
But
wow! So you guys have a pretty significant age gap then.
yeah, so
Yeah.
all of this happened like around ever since around like age 19. I've always had kids in my like
Wow.
raising like living with me from 19 on up.
So where do you get the energy from? Where would you say that comes from? Do you feel that experience left your daughter with anything?
Oh, absolutely. My one thing my daughter gets is love. Like if she don't know anything, she know that she is loved tremendously by her mother and tremendously by her father. If you see my daughter, you know that she's a loved child. You know that she's experienced love and she is just she blossoming. She knows it too. Like when you see her, you know Zoe is in the
Yeah.
room.
Okay, good, good. It's so interesting because you have some people that talk about burnout. Have you ever experienced burnout as a parent?
What have I experienced times where I thought like I wasn't doing a great job and raising my nephew and my niece? Absolutely, I felt like that. I felt like when it got to that teenage years, it became very hard. It was a struggle, but it was a commitment that I was willing to make, and I would. It was times where I would go above and beyond, trying to make sure that they had everything they needed and that I was doing the right thing and trying to be present in their life. I was at schools, I was at event. But the one thing I understand and I understand greatly now is DNA is DNA, meaning that it doesn't matter the atmosphere, it doesn't matter how you raise them, with them, raise them, whatever is in them and it's gonna come out
You mean with from their birth
from
parents?
their birth
Okay,
parents.
yeah.
DNA is DNA. I'm telling you. So it's just it's crazy as it is. I'm like, man, I look at the turnout because my nephew ended up going back to his mother at 14, and I look at I was like, if you see him now, it's crazy because there's no way that is the same child that we raised, right? But I know God has a purpose for him, and I know God has a plan for him. And so maybe this is his journey, his process to go through it all in order to do a full circle turn back because what's in him is greatness, and who he is greatness. The situation that he's in now is his process.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about the relationship you have with your mother, your childhood, your upbringing?
Well, my mother childhood, if I talk about from the beginning, I was raised for the first 5 years. I was raised, I think my mother and my father split up around the age I was one, maybe two, because I kind of can remember it. But I was mostly raised from the beginning, early part was with my father and my grandmother, because once my mom and my father separated, my grandmother and my mom became was in my life up until I was about five, and then my dad moved here to Tampa, and so the foundation of my first 5 years was with my grandmother and with my father, and so what did it kind of created a separation from my mom and I
Mm.
from that foundation, and then as I when I did finally move with her around five, uh, it was it was it was a different type of relationship. I knew she loved me, but I did also understand that she didn't know how to love me. And I had already experienced love through my grandmother and my grandfather. And the reason she did not know how to love me is because she had never really been loved herself. So it was like trying to teach something that you don't have the capacity to give. And so it was love there, but there was a disconnection. And then around 4 years after being with my mother, she actually ended up getting into a bad car accident where she almost died, and it caused a lot of brain damages. And so at that time, we also had to separate from my mom, and I ended up living with my mother's mother, grandmother, and from there, it was just more so of going from place to place, living with my aunts and different people that would care for me, and so that left our relationship a little distance and disconnected, and it was really hard at first. I cannot tell you that it was easy, because as a child you don't understand why you're not with your mother, because you're looking at, that's my mother, why can't I be with my mother, why does my mother not want me, why I'm not in my mother present, and that's all you're thinking about. People could say she's not well, she's not sick, she's not able to take care of you, this and that. None of that matters to a child. Child don't see none of that. Only thing a child knows and feel is that my mother is not here. And yes, you're doing the best you can. Yes, you're doing this, and yes, you're doing that. But where is my mother?
Yeah, I understand that.
And so it creates a lot of resentment. I had a lot of resentment. I had a lot of anger, and I felt like my mother hurt me in a lot of ways, and a lot of times, knowingly and unknowingly, if I be honest with you. And so that created a lot of anger for me as a child, created a lot of hurt and pain, and left a lot of empty spaces, right? But the one thing that I did have was my father, who gave me love, showed me love, and displayed love in my life. So I didn't miss out on love, but I did miss out on the love of a mother, in a sense, from my natural mother. Because what I learned through this journey, looking back, God always put a mother in my life, whether it's from a godmother, whether it's through my aunts, whoever. God always had a mother figure for me in the place where my mother couldn't. And after growing up and after going through my whole reign of, being like disrespectful, not loving my mother, not wanting to be around my mother, mad at my mother and angry at my mother, the Lord came for me one day, and I remember I was in church, and I was talking to my apostle, and I was just so mad and hurt, because the one person that could hurt me and bring me always down was her, and her word would pierce through my soul and leave me empty, right?
Mm.
And I was just done with the pain, done with the hurt. And she just said, she always just said, keep praying. And she always tried to teach me not to, hold on to that hurt and resentment. And I remember the Lord came for me one day, and he said, your mother don't have to do anything for you. Your mother don't have to, if she don't give you nothing, if she don't say nothing, if she never says she's love you, she done enough by simply bringing you into this world. And because of that, you are to always honor her. And it shifted my whole mind and my whole mindset, because I understand her purpose was not to raise me, but to birth me. And she did that. And God strategically had people in place for what I need and who I am as a prophet in my journey, that would pour into me, develop me. If I look back, I didn't miss anything. And so I'm grateful
Mm.
for the journey. I'm grateful for the opportunity. And I love my mother. We speak often. We have a relationship that we understand. She understands her purpose. I understand my purpose. And she will always be my mother, and I will always love her. And at any point when I can be there for her or help her in any way, I do. Like our relationship is exactly the relationship that God ordained. It's a relationship where I love her without a shadow of doubt. I'm so proud of her, and I'm happy that she is my mother.
That's beautiful. So honor is there now. How long would you say it took for you to develop the honor for your, I won't even just say your mother, for your parents in general, because it goes, every direction.
Well, like I say, my grandmother and my father, they raised me up, right? And my grandmother raised me up in the house of the Lord. And so I took the word of the Lord serious. And one of the things it did require me is to always love and honor your mother. And so honor is something that I learned at an early age, not just to honor my mother, but to respect my elders, to respect people of authority. So I've always had honor about me. Now that like my mother, she can tell you that I never disrespected her to the point once. I did to the point of dishonoring. You know what I mean? Like if she's arguing and fussing, I would never like go to take it there with her. Like I've seen people cuss at their mother and cuss out their mother. That's not something that I do. That's not even something that I desire to do. Like I know people call their mother by their first name. My mother has always been mom. I never call her by her first name. So the honor has always been there, even in the pain. I've always displayed a place of honor. And when I was not able to display honor, I separated myself because I rather walk away than to disrespect you. I rather just give us time and space than to disrespect you.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good. I hope they're catching these gems about how to honor your parents and
Yes,
walk away.
yes,
Remember the role. We
yes,
gonna we gonna put a little
yes.
extra on this tidbit. We can't let that just slide
Yeah,
by.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So I love the transparency with your background. So can you tell us about Miss Zoe?
Oh, Zoe. Zoe is an on time miracle. I tell you, like, I waited 20 years for Zoe, but Zoe came right on time. She came in a place in my life where it was the main focus and the highlight, meaning that I wasn't taking care of no any of the kids. There was no one in to like take away what she needed and what she brought to us. Uh, she is just that. Zoe is just that. Zoe amazes me every single day. Like I said, 20 years of waiting. I've had 5 miscarriages. I had a tube of pregnancy that left me without one tube and another one that was blocked. And the doctor said that it was highly likely that I would never get pregnant. Also, at the age of 21, 20, I think it's 20, I can't remember, I was shot. And so, during being shot in the back, I had intestinal problem. I had lung problems. I had a lot of things, was happened. That bullet damaged a lot of my organs, and so it left also another highly chances that pregnancy was not in the books, uh, factually. I'll put it like that from doctor's perspective. But God had already given me the answer that I would have a child. He already told me that I would give birth. And I had a God said, and regardless of what the enemy, not the enemy, what the doctor said, I say enemy, wanted to plant in my mind and wanted me to believe that it wasn't. So, after 5 miscarriages, after trying, because me and my husband, we've been married for 21 years and I've never been on birth control. And so those are things that I know when God tells you something and God says that it is so, regardless of what it looked like, it is so. And I just refuse to not believe, because here's the thing: as a prophet, you can believe everything God is telling you for someone else. But the moment God starts speaking to you about you, it's like, are you sure? Are you there? You just kind of
Okay. Can you give more detail about being shot? How did that even transpire?
Sure. First, I could say it transpired first in the spiritual realm. And what that means is that prior to me getting shot, maybe 3, 4 years prior to that, I actually had a dream of being shot in the back. God had to visit me in a dream that I got shot in the back. And that was one of the most terrifying experiences that I had ever experienced in my dream. I woke up sweating. I woke up Like my back was burning. Like the whole experience was so traumatic. Like I was breathing hard. It was just like it was crazy. Like it was so real in the dream. Um, that God had already showed me that, but not knowing like here's the thing about me as a prophetess. I've always dreamed. God always showed me things in dreams, and I never really understood why until I actually came to Temple that I'm a prophet. But I knew one thing that when God, at first I would ask like, God showed me this, God showed me that, and people would tell me, different stuff. What if you dream this and dream that? Different things like they had
Stuff that's not the
you're right. If you
Bible.
dream about a man, it's a woman, like different stuff. And so it kind of confused my thoughts a little bit. And I usually chunk things off and like, oh, okay, well, that was name. But God began to show me, like, no, this is real. So prior to that, like I said, I had a dream about it, of being shot, exactly how it happened. And so I remember it was like my 18th birthday. I was on my 18th birthday, and I was feeling some type of way because I'm the type of person that I like celebrating people. And so I would always celebrate people's birthdays and this and this and that. So not that I was doing it to expect it, but I just thought people would remember that I remember them. You know what I mean? So my birthday is like, no one remember my birthday. So I was just at a point like, God, I was talking to God, right? And I'm having a little rant on my birthday, right? And I was like, why am I here? You know what I'm saying? It seems like the good is always treated bad and no one understands. And what does it good to be good? Like, what's the purpose of it? Because it seems like we always get the short end of the stick and always end up hurt when people that just do whatever and out there in the world and doing bad, they just get all the good things happening to them. And I was like, you know what? I'm done being good. I'm just gonna do me. I'm gonna live my life how I want to live my life, and I ain't having no restraints, and I don't care nothing about it. I was just going on God. So I was like literally telling him, I'm done. I don't care. I'm gonna do what I want to do. I'm gonna treat people how they treat me. Like I was just going on a little rant, right? And then I started out my journey. Like I was hanging out with my friends, and I was in her car. I was driving. We was going on the we had picked up a like I tell the story. Like we had went to the store. We had got a case of beer, and we was gonna go play cards and just hang out and have a good time. It was Halloween night, and so that's what we was gonna do. Well, Maya had already confessed to God a couple of days later before about I was done and that was it and I'm done, la 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 la. So my mindset had been shifted from whatever who I was. And so during that time, I was riding in the neighborhood, and at the time a lot of gang activity was going on. There was a lot of shooting back and forth. And so I was in my friend's car, and the kids, that neighborhood we rode through, they was throwing eggs. And so my friend got out, and then it was like four of us, two girls, two guys. And so one of the guys got out and he was fussing and they was fussing. And so I got out the car to tell them, man, come on, let's go. Quit fussing, right? I got, and as soon as I turned around to get back into the car, all I heard was pow, 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 pow. And so these shots just start like from nowhere. And it's crazy because it was so hyped, the adrenaline, that when it hit me, it was just like I literally, my body did like this, and I didn't even know that I was shot. And I remember my friend running back to the car, and she was like, drive, 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 drive. And I just put the car in drive. We had the door still open. And I just went to driving, like trying to get out of the neighborhood, right? And as I'm driving, I was like, man, my back is on fire. And so I touched my back and I looked up and I was like, oh man. I was like, looked over to my friend. I was like, dog, I've been shot. And she immediately like went panic. And she was like, oh my God, Shareka, 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 Shareka. She was like, get over on the side, get on the other side. So I crawled over to the other side, and I was just like so hot. Like it was just so hot. And so I leaned my head out the window to get some air, and she was driving, and she was just like driving real crazy through the neighborhood trying to get like to the hospital. It was like right up the street. And so I kept wanting to like lay my head down and just go to sleep. That's all I wanted to do. And I remember lifting my head up, and she was just running through red lights and just driving crazy. She was trying to get me to the hospital. And I looked, I was like, dog, don't kill me, right? And so we got there, and I looked up again, and I was like, dog, you passed the hospital. Like, she literally passed the hospital. And so she turned around, and she literally almost ran into the emergency room with her car. And she was like, my friend been shot, my friend been shot. And so when they took me out, it was like, oh my God, it's a big hole in the back of her back. And it was so crazy because the thing about it is that one, the doctor was confused to why I wasn't panicking. And the reason why I wasn't panicking because I had already experienced this 2 years ago. So God had already prepared me for the shock. So it wasn't a shock. And in my mind, I knew I wasn't going to die because I didn't die in a dream, right? And so the doctors, they was like panicking. Everybody was going crazy, and they put me on this like machine because I had lost a lot of blood. I lost a lot of blood, and so they had me, and it was prepping for surgery, and I'm like going in and out. I told you I was like kind of sleepy, but my ears were so alert, like I can hear everything. And it was like, I don't think she's gonna make it. She lost too much blood. We need this, and the doctor was saying this. It was like a whole TV scene like going around me, and I can remember opening my eyes and seeing my mom there crying, my aunt crying, like people over me. And I see people like, oh my God, she white. Like I could see it was so crazy. And out of my mind, I'm like, I'm not gonna die. You know what I'm saying? And so it was a crazy experience. And I remember my grandmother, which is my mother, father, coming there. And she laid hands on me and she began to pray over me and lay hands on me. And prior to her doing that, the doctor was saying like it's gonna take a while for me to walk because the bullet hit like centimeters away from my spine. So it from the legs down, I was kind of like unable to move. I was moving, but I couldn't really move like that. It punctured my lungs. It hit my intestine. They had to repair. So they did the surgery. Look, the recovery looked worse than what happened. So they, cut me and had, repair all my intestines and lungs and stuff like that. I remember they had a tube in my neck when I was being fed through my neck, and I was in ICU. And it was just a crazy thing. And my grandmother came there once again, and she began to pray over me. And then after she got through praying, I went to therapy, and I used to was going. Therapy was like more of just, can you move the leg? Can you do this? And then I just began to like walk. Yeah, I began to walk, and I began to like take it slow. I was bent over a little bit, but I was still walking, and so each day it got better. And even though I felt like I was getting better, the doctor was still saying like she may never walk completely, fully again without a cane, and she may never do this and this and that, and she's gonna have issues always with this and that. So it was all these things stacked against me. And it was so crazy because first thing my parents was thinking about, well, not my parents, like my mom, them, I put it like that. It was like, oh, you're gonna have to get a check. And I'm like, check for what? For your disability. I'm like, oh my God, is that what we're thinking about? And so I was like, no, ma'am. I was like, I'm walking up out of this hospital. I said, God didn't show me none of that. And I said, I'm walking up in that hospital. But I had a moment laying there with God, and God said, if you don't preach my word and if you don't prophesy to my people, you will die.
Mm, mm. Prophets, people of God, y'all, I hope you listening. Very real.
So that was the first time I rededicated myself back to the Lord. I did. I rededicated myself. Now I wasn't fully all the way, but I made up my mind that I was for God. And in the process, I had to come through some stuff, right? But I decided that I was no longer going to say I'm done, like with God, right? And so that was my first lesson. And what he did, he healed me completely, but he left the scars.
Motherhood, conceiving. Yeah. I'm sure you are too, a firm believer. He knows where to hit you.
It does.
Because it's like, okay, I will,
Yeah.
God will literally allow his grace to do
Right.
X, Y, and Z. And then that stuff that's going to bother you, that
Right.
stuff you have to give to him,
Yeah.
that's the stuff he knows to take.
Yeah.
He knows to pause.
Mhm.
He knows how to get you.
Right. Because who I am, I'll be, it'll be too, I'm gonna put it like this. It's not for the world. It's definitely for God. Because who God has made me and called me to be, it is not for the world. And how I know it, because every time I tried to do the world way, God whipped me back around to his way. Like it's crazy.
To
like,
the point of getting shot.
shot. And that wasn't the worst thing that happened to me, actually. That wasn't the worst thing that happened to me. But that was one of the most pivot moment in my life where I knew that God was real, mm-hmm. and that God was concerned about who I am as a person. Mm-hmm. And so and from that moment, it gave me a strength to know that no, I matter. You know what I'm saying? Like God is concerned about me, because had he not, he could have just simply let me die. Like the fact of the matter is that's what should have happened. Yeah. All the way to the point where the bullet hit, if I was sitting down, remember I told you I got out the car? If I would have stayed in the car, it would have hit me in the back of the head, because the bullet came from the window backside, went through the headrest of the seat, my back, and out the window, because I had one foot in and one foot out, and I was turned around like this. And that's how I had. But if I had was stayed in that car and sitting there, would hit me in the head, and it was a Mac 10. What a Mac 10 does is on impact, it spreads into buckshots.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So you say that's not the worst thing that happens to me. So it leads me to this question. So I see, like, when you talk about getting shot and being healed, it's laughing, it's giggling. Now let's walk through waiting on a child. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I just know that for some reason, waiting on the child to finally come was worse than getting shot. Is that true? Was it?
Well, that was the most joyful thing of that happens to me was when I finally was able to give birth. But waiting, it was so emotional. You know, it was so emotional. It was so life changing, and it was so up and down to like the point that I had to know for sure that God said it. Because here's the thing: it's not the fact that I never got pregnant. I did get pregnant, and often I made it through the first trimester, right? So, and after that, by the time because I was looking to get pregnant, because so guess what happened? When I first missed my minister, I knew I was pregnant, right? So it's not like, oh, I found out I'm pregnant and lost the baby. No, it was like week one, you're pregnant. And then I go a whole 12 weeks, 16 weeks, 18 weeks. And then to lose a baby, it's like, what's happening, right?
So, question: With you went that far, did you have you ever had to give birth and the child just not make it,
No, I
or
never went that far to where I never seen it, you know what I'm saying? It's always either, like I say, the one for I think the longest one was the tubal one, the tubal pregnancy. Like, we had our start planning and everything, and then did the ultrasound and everything was set straight. Now, I truly believe it was another one that was stuck in the tube because I'm still trying to figure out how it was out of the tube and then go back into the tube. I don't know how that happened. I don't know if that's possible. Some say it's not, some say what, but I had a tubal pregnancy. But I
okay.
also had an ultrasound showing that the baby was inside the womb. I had the ultrasound and everything. So I don't know. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't
Yeah.
like, okay, you got pregnant, it was in the tube. No, I got pregnant. I did the ultrasound. They showed the baby, the embryo, everything inside. So only thing that I can think of is that it was another one in the
Oh,
tube. You
okay.
know what I mean?
Or sometimes this is a tidbit for y'all listening when we start talking about
It goes back
pregnancy
up.
and all of that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they have one where it literally is a clump of cells and it'll look like a pseudo pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
I can do a video on that for y'all who are curious later. I'm just throwing that tidbit out there that can happen. They'll call it like a fake pregnancy where it
Okay.
mimics one and eventually you will know it's not a pregnancy.
Okay.
So I just wanted to add that in there because I know people are probably gonna be like, "What is that? What does she mean?"
Yeah. Yeah.
There are tons of possibilities with women's bodies.
And
We are unique
let
creatures.
me ask you this question: will it have a heartbeat?
The baby, it should no. That
Okay.
one had a
It
heartbeat.
had a heartbeat because I
Oh
was at the point where I
wow.
did actually ultrasound and everything, and I had it was there. Like it was because I had already had two miscarriages, so I was already on like high,
Yeah.
and they did everything, and they gave me my little baby bag and everything, and then weeks later, it was two. So that way, like from me just doing the researches, I think that there was another one in the tube. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you think you were kind of pregnant twice. Like one was
Right.
in the tube and then another one had wiggled its way in there.
Yeah.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
what I think because the doctor couldn't even understand what happened because I was asking them. I was like, well, what happened? Trying to figure out, and they didn't. They couldn't even. They
Yeah.
couldn't even understand like what happened.
They have some women who, well, more than, I'm sure quite a few, who can ovulate more than once a month.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have one, now y'all, we just talking. Do not go
You're
trying
probably
to
getting off.
Google all this stuff. But you
Yeah.
can't go. Let's say, like you said, it's in the tube. It's in the tube. It's not in the uterus.
Yeah.
So it still could be possible for
Mhm.
something else to occur, especially if you're in a sexually active marriage. Then
Mhm.
of course.
Yeah.
So thank
Yeah.
y'all. No, do not quote us. We are not doctors.
I'm not. I
We are
don't
not
know.
giving out medical
Yeah.
advice. We
Yeah.
are talking.
I'm just telling you, like the doctors they couldn't even give me an answer because I asked questions, right?
Yeah.
Because I asked like, how did this happen? Because it was the point like I was having issues. I was like, vomiting a lot or whatever. And then I would go to the doctor. They would check me like, okay, they gave me like the nausea pills and everything. But it was the moment I started spotting that I was like, okay, something, and I was in really, really bad pain, and it was crazy because by the time I got to the hospital, my stomach was like this big. It was full of blood.
Oh God.
So they couldn't even touch me. And it was crazy because again, I almost died.
I was just yes. Yeah, my those tubal pregnancies are
Yes.
fatal for some
And yeah,
people.
they was trying to figure out again how, like when I got to the hospital, I walked in there, and they was like, when they took my blood pressure, they was like, you hypo, this that. I was like, oh my god, you're going into epileptic shock, and like it was just so crazy, like how they begin to like move quickly, 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 and I'm laying down. Only thing that hurts when they go to touch me and when I check, I was like, oh my god, no, 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 like don't. It was so much pain. I can't tell you it wasn't. And I'm laying down there waiting on the doctor. It's like, we can't wait, we can't wait. Look at her stomach, it's filling up with blood. Like it was crazy.
So when these happen, when you're in pain, now I know when you talk about being shy, you're like, okay, you cruising through it, like
Yeah.
okay. But with the pregnancy, did
The
it
pregnancy,
feel
yeah,
the
it's
same cruising through, or was it
no,
more
no,
of a panic?
it was more of a panic. It was more of a heartbreak because the only thing I can think of is like I hear what they're saying. I'm like, God, please don't let me lose my baby. Please don't let me lose this baby. Please don't let me lose it. So like I was like, I'm praying. I'm telling God like, God, no, 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 no. You know what I mean? So it was just more of me wanting so much not to be. I didn't realize the impact of what was going on. I didn't know what a tubal pregnancy was. I didn't know what was actually happening because they never came to that point. It wasn't until after the surgery they had to do a C-section and everything, right? After I came to that they told me like you almost died. This and that. They was just telling me like I almost died, like literally almost died. Like it was that serious. Like if I had to wait another minute, another second, I would have died at home.
Yeah, you go into shock with the tubal pregnancies. Yep.
Yeah. And then I was like, we had to do a C-section to actually go
Yeah.
in, and I was just like, so I was very hurt. I was very disappointed. I was depressed in that moment. I was
Yes.
just like feeling like, why? You know what I'm saying? It's one thing to not to know you're pregnant and desire to be pregnant, but it's one thing to get pregnant and then to lose it. That is a whole nother hurt. That's a whole nother pain that people may like, well, it wasn't that long. It was long enough. Even
Mm-hmm.
if it's a day, just knowing and having and thinking, especially when that's something you want, that is a pain that aches in you. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like you lost something that you wanted, and you lost a life.
A life, yeah.
You know what I mean?
How did your husband support you in this? Do you feel like he was supportive, or were you? Because as women, sometimes we are emotional when it comes to bearing children and
Mhm.
losing children. It's hard. And do you feel he was supportive, or do you feel that you could even recognize the support he was trying to give if he was giving it?
I felt like he didn't know how to handle my pain at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like he was so used to me being the brave one, being the one like up running and thriving and being positive, that he could not handle the pain. He could not handle what I was dealing with and what I was going through. And I think he tried the best that he could, but it was something that I clearly see that he could not father, could not obtain. And also he was grieving, right?
Yes.
Because we both wanted
Yes.
this and we both wanted a child. We both were happy, like this is it. I think it was like maybe the fourth time. No, that's the fifth time, the fifth one. And it was like, yes, finally. You know what I'm saying? So
Yes.
he was going through his own thing and own mental anguish of trying to understand why God, you know what I
Of
mean?
losing a child.
Yeah, losing a child and
Yes.
then how to really embrace pain because again, his story is his story to tell. But,
Mm-hmm.
it was a lot of things that he had to come through as well in life, losing his mom at 16 and so forth. But it was a lot, you know what I mean? And so oftentimes men, they can't handle our hurt in certain aspects. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like especially when they're used to seeing you in a certain way, in a certain light, and they don't really know what to do. And so
Yes.
one thing I can say, well, he was there, he was present, and I felt his presence, and I felt his sincere concern of my wife. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes. That's good. I know, I'm men. I know we just say men. Let's change the term and say fathers, because
Mhm.
that's what he was too. He wasn't just in that moment your husband, he
Yeah.
was also a father. I
Yeah.
do feel they don't get the same conversations, the
Mhm.
same spaces. I know it's hard for us as well. That's why
Yeah.
we do this. But if
Yeah.
y'all
He
have
was hurt
husbands
too. He was
who
definitely hurt and
want to come and
disappointed.
talk, we here. All y'all, they can come together. We can put everybody on camera.
Yeah.
I think that they're having men come and express these kind of talks is
Yeah.
very important as well, because they also lost a
Yeah.
child.
Yeah.
So did you ever express to him that you understood that he also had a loss, or was it just a hard thing to even talk about on a normal day? Is it just something y'all just had to walk through together and keep going?
That was it. We just walked through it together and kept going,
Hmm.
and we was just like at the mind, like God, you know, help us. That was it.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, we didn't really get to that point of sharing. Like he probably, it's a lot of things that when I talk about it, he's like, oh, I didn't know. You know what I mean? I didn't
Yeah.
know. And then that's a lot of times when I hear him talk and open up, I'm like, I didn't know. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like that. But at the same time, we both shared a loss together,
Yes.
right? And so
Yes.
we dealt with it, and it was so crazy because at the moment it happened, I also lost my grandmother, which is my father's mother, which
Hmm.
is the life of my life, right? And
Who raised you?
yes,
Yes.
and so I'm in the hospital after all this happened, and they're telling me that my grandmother just passed, right? And so, well, actually, she was dying,
Mhm.
and so she hadn't passed. I take that back. She was dying, and they was like they didn't know if she was gonna make it through the night. And so I'm in the hospital, and now they tell me I can't leave. I'm in Florida. My grandma's in Georgia. And so during that time, I was like, look, I got to go see my grandmother. So I checked myself out. I did. I left.
Oh, you checked yourself out?
Yeah. Yeah, I did. Because I felt like what had happened, and I felt like I was okay. And I'll be waiting another day. And I don't have another day. I don't know if I have another day because you're telling me she's not going to make it through the night. So we checked out, and that night we left and went to Georgia to see about my grandmother. She was in the hospital, and we prayed for her and covered her and everything. And she actually ended up doing better.
Hmm.
But she did eventually die, like I remember a week later or two. But that was not a risk I was willing to take.
Yeah, you wanted to get your time in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So, with all the miscarriage, you said five miscarriages.
Hmm.
So, with each pregnancy, was fear of something that just would come over sometimes?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Every pregnancy was that. It was like as soon as I knew I wanted to see a doctor, and then, of course they wouldn't take me to at least 8 weeks, and so that was full 8 weeks of just straight stressing. Straight like I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. Sometimes I felt like maybe what I drunk caused a miscarriage. Like you begin to think of like what caused the miscarriage, what happened. Maybe I was did too much of this or a strain or ate this or should there's all these things that you just begin to think, and so you're very cautious about everything, and you're waiting from week 1 to week 8 to see a doctor because they won't take you until you're 8 weeks and see you. And sometimes if you don't call in enough time, it goes longer. And so it's just everything is just like you go into panic mode, and then after actually getting pregnant and have a child, every day is like, oh my god, is she okay, is she okay, is she okay, so every checkup is like, okay God, and it's like every milestone is like a celebration. Every moment for me was a celebration. Every time I wake up was a celebration. To hear her heartbeat, to hear her kick, to have her move around and see her actually grow was a celebration. Like me and my husband embraced every moment. My husband was at every doctor's appointment. My husband was at every class, everything. My husband did not miss a moment. When I tell you he was locked in, he was locked in. Everything I went through, we went through it together.
Oh, this is good. So, okay, let's talk about the happy stuff. So, I have seen it on like the videos of Zoe's room. Please tell the people the significance.
Of Zoe wrong. Well, here's the thing. Like I said, I had a God said, right? And God told me, like, and it's crazy because every time I would get to that point where I was like, it might happen, it might not. God will always reconfirm. He would reconfirm through his prophet. He would reconfirm to people around me. People would come to me and say, I dreamed Zoe. Zoe was playing with my tablet. I dreamt Zoe this and this and that. And they would come like, it's like every time I get that slight moment of God would send someone to say, I said what I said. You know what I mean? Either my pastor was like, I dreamt Zoe, I seen you pregnant. So it was just like it got to the point like I was like, oh my God, I don't hear another prophecy. Right after 15 years of prophecy, it's just like, man, okay, I get it. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I had people like tell me when. I'm like, oh, well, that these some of them passed so that they happened. You know what I'm saying? So it was just crazy. But I had a God said, right? I had a God said, and I just stuck to that God said because I know that God, you never said something and not seeing it through. It's just a matter of when. You know what I'm saying? Like year one, you're like, okay, God said it. Year two, you're like, God said it. Year three, year four, year five, you're like, okay, God. It's almost like, with in the
Sarah.
Bible. Yeah, it's almost like, did he really say it? You know what I'm saying? But at the
Look,
same time,
we don't even got to stop at Sarah. Sarah, Noah. I feel like when God says he has to say, because he knows we
yeah,
will get weary. He knows.
yeah,
He's like, you know something, let me go ahead and drop this seed. Because if I don't say something, they are not
yeah,
going, they're going to go do whatever. They're going to mess something up. Let me say it to you.
yeah. And it's almost like, God has already prophesied that the Messiah is coming. And then you see the Messiah, you see the signs that the Messiah is here, and you baptize him. And then after you in the cave and in prison, you're like, God, is he the one? You know what I'm saying? Like, is that the Messiah? Because I'm in prison. You know what I'm saying? As long as I was out, before he came, it ain't happened like that. So, it's just crazy. And so God already told me that. And so what I began to do, I just began to decide and made up my mind that I was going to act out on faith, right?
Yeah.
I was just going to roll with what God said regardless. And if he's wrong, then he's wrong. But I'm going to trust God. And so
If who wrong?
if God's wrong, he's wrong.
I love it.
Like I am a trusted, it on me,
Okay.
right?
And this, I want to just point that out because this is a prophetess who had feelings of if this is wrong. Okay. So feel confident. Y'all are in good company. When you feel like something ain't right, when you feel like something ain't going fast enough, you in good company.
Yeah, I was like, hey, if it don't happen, it's not on me. You said it, and I'm just gonna trust what you said. And if it's wrong, it's wrong. But I'm gonna trust what you said, right? If what you say is wrong, it ain't, don't come to pass. That's on you. But I'm gonna stand here until it does.
So
Right?
you put the responsibility
I
back
did.
on
I put a
him.
responsibility back on him
That's
because
right.
it's not my word; it's his word. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted a child, yes. But you told me I was gonna have one. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So I went on what you said and I stuck on your word because once you said and he showed me my baby. He literally showed me her face and it was just so crazy the things that God would just visit me about. I'm having a child, and it's at that moment like you're 5, you're 6, you're 8, you're 9. You kind of like Then I got my own, raising my sister. I'm like, well, maybe she's it. You know what I'm saying? And raising my nephew. Well, maybe this is maybe God was saying like I'm like Abraham. Like you start like making all
You
these
start adding on
adding
stuff.
stuff and
Like
and,
I
and
ain't say that.
saying stuff and like taking on situations like, well, maybe this is what God's gonna do. You start creating Ishmaels and doing all kind of stuff, and it's just like because you're like, well, is this what you meant? Like I'm gonna be fathers to other people? Like maybe we're supposed to. I told my husband, so maybe we should adopt, and he was like, we can, but we still gonna have our own child. He was like, God, gonna give me my child. You know what I'm saying? And so we was looking for a house, and when I went to look for the house, I already had in mind that I'm looking for a house for kids, right? So the house
Mm-hmm.
had to have a tub so I could bathe my baby. And it was some beautiful houses. I mean, it was some houses we seen that was really nice. But nowadays, most of them had like showers. So I was like, no, I need
Yes.
a tub. And I wanted a pool. You know what I'm saying? And it's just because I see the kids and hanging out in a spot where the kids can come and just like all these things was in my mind when I'm looking for a house, right? And so we went to these different houses, and I had mine like I want this house to be this many square feet, and I couldn't find a house. I'm looking for the house, and I'm like, okay, let me take off all of the wants, right, except for this one, right. And I did a research, and the house came about, and I went in the house, and I was like, oh, this is it. It had a tub, it had this, and all this, and it was just like, this is the house. So when we purchased the house, I said, this is Zoe's room. So immediately I began to decorate the room for Zoe, and I did everything except for put her name on the wall. I had the colors. Someone gave me a gift a year prior to us moving in the house, and they gave me. It was a prophet, and she gave me the gift. It was a gift box, and in the gift box were girls' clothes. It was two outfits in there, and the box, the color of the box was actually her baby shower theme, and it was her color. This was a year before we moved into the house, and I was like, "Oh my God!" She was like, "You're gonna have a child, and this is what the Lord told me to give you." Right? Not pregnant, no children, but she stood in faith and she
And
gave
look,
me
house
that
not
box.
even bought
House
yet.
not even bought yet. And she gave me that. It was a beautiful gift box. I still have that gift box. She gave me that gift box, and in there was two beautiful outfits and bows and little stuff for the baby. I was like, oh my God, a little head thing. It was just so beautiful. And I was like, yes. I said, this is gonna be Zoe's room color. This is gonna be her theme. This is gonna be her baby shower. Like I told her that day. And sure enough, when I got the house, those colors are her room. You walk in her room now, and I'm gonna send you some pictures so you can show.
Thank you. I
That
was
is the
just
color
about to
of her
say.
room. That is her room. And so we bought this house in 2020 during the pandemic. We bought the house, and like I say, I remember I was sitting there. We still believe in God, and I was sitting there, and God said it was 2 years now. It was 2020. It was 2021. Think about how it was 2019. It was 2021, right before the it was like 2021. I remember God said, finish it. Because I had did everything, but I hadn't put her name on the wall. My niece came down that summer, and I got pictures of me and her putting up the name on the wall. And I put her name up on the wall, Zoe, on the wall. And when I finished the room that same year, I got pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
2 years later, because I bought the house, did the room, took me 2 years to put the name up on the wall. I got pregnant. So she had everybody that came in my house, her room was already decorated. It looks like a baby room. People would come there and be like, well, where's your baby? I said, she's coming.
Yeah.
They're like, you don't have a child? Like, no. They was like, oh my God, the room is so pretty. Where's your baby? She's coming.
So it went from fear and loss of pregnancy to confidence. Like
Yeah.
I know what the Lord
I know
said.
what the Lord said, and I'm gonna stick to that till it comes, and to the fact that when I get my house, it's gonna have a room for Zoe because she's coming.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, she came. Yeah, so that was the story of the room. It was just like people like, what? I remember I was my birthday. I had turned 40, 41, and they was like, "What room is this?" I was like, "My child." And he asked his his wife. My best friend came down, and he asked his wife, "She ain't know she had a baby." He was like, "She don't, but she coming." And he was so puzzled and couldn't understand, like, but why she got a whole room set up? I'm like, everything's done. It is done. It ain't just pink on the wall. It is a whole baby room, a whole room done. Clothes hanging up and everything. Done.
Yeah.
So yes, that's the story of
Wow.
Zoe.
And that's her room. And
That's her room.
Zoe's here.
Zoe is here. Zoe name has been screaming in our church for at least the last 5 years when God gave me that name, which means life, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I was gonna ask that.
Yeah, it means life. And they was like, well, how you want to spell it? I want to spell it Zoe, and the Lord said Zoey for Life.
Life. Oh, life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to edit that out.
Yes.
Like that girl can't spell.
Yep, and that's the purpose. And then he gave me her middle name, which is Angelina, which is mean God's messenger.
Amen. That's so beautiful. Zoe Angelina.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when you're pregnant with Zoe, do you go through any problems with the pregnancy, or was this a smooth pregnancy?
It was a smooth pregnancy up until the week before pregnancy. And a week before that, right before, because she came.
Bingo. So sorry for the interruption here, though. We have.
Can you tell me about your pregnancy experience with Zoe? Was this a smooth pregnancy? Did you have any health problems with this one?
It was. It's about to get ready to rain. It was until a week up into it. Everything was smooth. Everything was actually really, really good until the pregnancy. Zoe um, was due in August, but a week before when I did my week before checkup, my blood pressure was really high, and so from there they sent me to the hospital to get checked, and from there they found out that I was threatened like preeclampsia. And
Okay.
so they wanted to go ahead and like induce the labor. And so the plan was to induce like start the inducing of labor so they can go ahead and take her because they were scared that preeclampsia was coming. And so that was a Thursday, and we tried inducing labor for like 3 days until it's just that cervix was just not open up. It was no, and she was just not ready.
So this was 3 days in the
three
hospital,
days in
just
the
waiting.
hospital, waiting, inducing, taking the pill, doing whatever, like to try to induce the pregnancy. And it's just not happening. And then they end up, my blood pressure was steady going up until like, I think the fourth day they had to put me on the meds for the preeclampsia and stuff and do the whole catheter for my urine because I couldn't move.
Oh my
So I
goodness.
was in there for like 3 days. Well, from Thursday until Saturday, my doctor was like, "No, we're gonna have to take her. We're gonna take her. We have to do a C-section. The cervix not opening up. She's not coming. We got to take her because of the preeclampsia and
Okay.
the danger of what could happen." And so we scheduled it. So on Saturday, which is an interesting thing about Saturday, is that Saturday is also that Saturday, the 23rd, is also my father's birthday. So we ended up doing a C-section, and she was born at 2:22 on the 23rd of my dad's birthday.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, and the C-section. Issue thing about me is that I have a high tolerance of pain, right? Physically, but I have a low tolerance of pain emotionally, right? I'm
Hmm.
so emotional. Like I can see you cry. I don't even know why you're crying. I just start crying. But as far as what I can take and what I can endure, it's a high level of pain. Like it really is. So, um, I end up getting I guess they gave me the shot in my back and told me to stay still. And then from there, the whole prepping and procedure went forth. It was very educational as to what was going on and what was happening. My husband was there the whole time. I couldn't see, but he could see because I guess the way they had like a banner in front of me, a sheet like thing in front of me and
Hmm.
doing the C-section, and it had a window open where he can see what was going on, but I was laying there and I couldn't see. So it was an interesting experience. Now my desire was I wanted to have a vaginal pregnancy. That was my desire. I just think that's a beautiful thing, right? But she came out via C-section. It was funny because when they got her, that like reached in for her, she ducked down, and my doctor was like, "Oh no, you coming out today?" Like she wasn't ready to come out. Like she was nowhere ready to come out. And yeah, so she came, and that cry was everything.
Hold on, I'm
Laying
ready.
there, and Sean was able to see exactly what was going on. I remember when they pulled her out. I remember him saying, "Oh my God," right? And I'm looking at him, and his face was like stuck. And then I heard the cry, and that sound was amazing. And I remember I seeing him holding up this long baby because she was long and 19 inches long. And I remember holding it up. They were so rough with my baby, by the way. But,
Oh,
they how they handle them, like, oh my God. But that's how they have to do or whatever. And I remember looking over there and they had her in there and they was cleaning her up and my husband cut the cord and all that. And I was looking over there and I heard it and it was just like, it was just the greatest feeling in the world. And then they brought her to me and they laid her on my chest, and that was just like a bond like never before. That was love like I've never felt love before in my life ever.
mhm.
And from that
Yeah.
moment, it's been that way.
Wow. So to me, it's like you, because of the history, you already had experience with the surgeries. You've already had experience in the hospital. So when you went, did you have any fear when they said preeclampsia and C-section, or were you just ready for whatever?
And now, because like I said, I already had a C-section before, and I know like the cut and everything. Like I already been there before, right? I already had surgery before, right? So I didn't fear surgery. I didn't feel it. Like the thing was like with the preeclampsia, I never had that. I didn't exactly know what that was or the intents of that as far as on the baby. Afterwards, I did. But the one thing I knew was that she was coming.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
so
worth
it
it.
was just a wait. Like I was ready. Like when they told me, okay, we're gonna take her a week wedding and she should be good. Just as the doctor said, she should be well cooked by then. Like, was she 38 weeks or 30 something like that? Because I think we
So
were going
full
to 40.
term.
Yeah, so it's like she's good. She's ready.
Okay.
And so I was ready.
Good. So your C-section was because you had preeclampsia. It wasn't for any other reason. That's good. So
Mhm.
you felt like the care team supported you properly.
Mhm.
But have you ever heard of a doula?
Doula, yes. Let me tell you about a doula, right? I had a doula. Right. I call her my doula. She was there during the whole time that I was there. She was my doula. She was the best doula that I needed. I'm gonna say that for my doula. But I didn't know that my doula was also pregnant. So for that reason, she was a trooper because, like I said, I was 3 days in there, and she was there every single day
Oh
in that
wow.
on that chair, crawled up, like suffering through. One, not telling me that she's pregnant, but also being there for me and just being present. Like I could tell anybody, present makes a difference. It's not about the presence, but it's about your presence. And she was there, and for that, I will forever in my life be grateful to my doula. She wasn't an official doula, but she was my doula.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
she was there. She was there. She
Good. So
really
you had
was.
great
She was
support.
there, being able to tell me what's going on with the machine, because she's also a nurse. So she was also able to let me know this, and that, and different signs. And she's had children before, and so it was an amazing experience. I'm glad she was there because when I did want to panic and I did get frustrated in certain aspects when they kept telling me no, 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 it's still not open. She was there to give me comfort. She was there to give me support. And she was there to just, Sharika, it's gonna be okay. We're gonna get through it. We're gonna work it out. Like that's the moment I did. I cried. I was like, oh, you know what I'm saying? Because I wanted to give naturally. I really did. I was trying everything not to have to give a C-section.
Yeah. That's okay. All of it is natural. It is all natural,
Yeah,
just a different process.
yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time today. We have
Hmm.
been through the rain, we have gotten lost,
Yeah,
but
it's been an experience. So I'm glad that you wanted to hear my story and share my story. And there was a lot in there. There's a lot to unpack, and I just hope that someone was blessed in all of this to know that if God said it, that settles it, and have faith. I don't care how old you are, because I am over 40 when I had my first child, and if God has promised you a seed, then a seed shall come forth. And just trust and believe God's voice. It'll never fail you. But one thing I can say is that Zoe could not have came at a better time. She is on time. It is at the right moment. It's the right time in our life. And I didn't know how much we needed her. And I cannot see my life without her. And I'm so grateful that God has chosen her. She is the life of the house. When I say energy, she's giving us what we need, because my God, Zoe is that honey. Zoe run stuff and just give us life and joy and keep us young. And it's just a breath of fresh air. And every time I see her, I'm wild. I'm wild by what God said. I'm wild about what God did. And I'm wild of what we created. My Me and my husband, first child, first
yeah.
seed, and to see her and to see us in her, it's a miracle in all itself. So to
Dish.
those parents and to those that are expecting pregnancy, one pregnancy, desire pregnancy, or even pregnant now, just trust God, believe His report on it. Don't believe the report of what the doctors say. Be encouraged. Utilize your doula, and just continue to, be encouraged in the journey. Things may happen, things may not go as planned, but there's one thing that's for sure, is that if God called it, He'll see it through.
Amen. That's good.